So there's this new creator, I think he started out on TikTok and I believe he's now moving over to YouTube, called Inside Geopolitics. He's got this really fascinating animation style. Now, as you're probably aware, one of the issues with a lot of map projections, particularly the Mercator projection, is that because of the globe shape of the Earth, things tend to get warped as they move towards the poles, which is why countries like Greenland appear much, much larger on the map than they actually are on the surface of the Earth. Now, Inside Geopolitics gets around this by doing his animations on a globe basis. Now, this creates this really beautiful look, and he's also incorporated a parallax effect into that just to help really bring his animations to life. Now, today, I want to show you how to make one of those. Now, before we get any further into this, I just want to say that this technique is based off of the template project, which you can buy over on the Envato marketplace for $48. I'm thinking of doing a second version of this tutorial that doesn't require any purchases. So if that interests you, then please do just let me know down in the comments. If you do decide to pick that up, it would mean the world to me if you use the affiliate link down in the comments. This is a brand new channel and I don't have any sponsors, so that will go a long way towards helping me out. Now, the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go and get this other free plugin called VC Orb. So you just go over to this website here. I will link it down in the description below. So you just download that and install it, and then you should be good to go. So what we're now going to do is we're going to go over and we're going to open up this 3D Earth Connections file. Now, there are two different templates here. There's the full HD, so standard 1080p, and then there's also a 4K version. If you're going to do vertical video later on, I would recommend doing the 4K version for the reason that the program can sometimes get a bit skewed if you just try and change the aspect ratio. So I needed to make a new comp and then drop this file here into that comp and then scale it up in order to get the vertical video aspect ratio. So you do need that extra pixel from using the 4K. So I'm just going to head and going to open this up now. So here we go. This is the 3D Earth Connections plugin. So as you can see, already looks really beautiful. It's a lovely template, this. You get this really beautiful view of the Earth and you can rotate it in all directions, do all kinds of fun animations with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and unshy all the layers, and as you can see, it's already quite a bit more complicated than it looks from the first impression. So we click on the controller, and then within Earth Appearance, you can sort of play with all these aspects of it. Now you can customize this however you want. Don't feel that you have to follow along exactly with what I'm doing. But in order to kind of match the Inside Geopolitics appearance, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the clouds and I'm going to turn off the haze. So you have this kind of much cleaner image of the Earth. Basically, there are several pre-comps within this that have all been turned into this kind of orb texture and they layer on top of each other. So we're going to come over here to Earth Diffuse 6K, and this is basically the same, this is the standard kind of Earth imagery in what's called an equirectangular projection. Now I'm just going to select this and I'm just going to apply a black and white effect to it, just to sort of help kind of, again, kind of align the imagery with that of Inside Geopolitics. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically save this. And then I'm going to close it and I'm going to open up a new After Effects account. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is I found that before, when I just simply changed the aspect ratio within the file, like I said, it kind of messed with a lot of the expressions. So we're just going to open up this new project. And then we're just going to drag in the original file into the project folder. And then we're going to grab main composition, drop it there. We want the comp settings on this one to be in vertical. There we go. And then we're just going to transform this so that it is fitted to comp height. And then we're just going to click back in, and then we can just sort of ignore that initial comp one until the end when you want to render it out. Now that's only if you're doing it in vertical video. If you're doing it in standard, actually looks nice aspect ratio, then you can skip that step. And then if you are doing it in vertical video, is what I would recommend doing is I would recommend putting in one of these safe zone templates so that you can basically just sort of help position yourself so that you're not animating outside of that. So yeah, I would just do something like, just to sort of give yourself some markers as to where exactly it is that you want to animate within. Now, as I was saying earlier, basically this globe is made up of multiple layers of imagery. Now, within this one is the basic imagery. Now I'm going to copy that, and it's what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this other thing called the root comp. Now, is what the root comp is it's basically this blank pre-comp that is wrapped onto the globe, but there's nothing currently in it. So as an example, if I just do like a big square on it and then come back out to the main composition, you'll see that that has appeared here. Now, is what I recommend doing is I recommend going in here and then basically pasting in this earth diffuse imagery. And that will mean that you can animate on here within this pre-comp. And then at the end, we need to get rid of this imagery so that you can't see it. This is in here at the moment just so that you know what you're doing. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that you can do within this preset template, which is why it's so powerful. And one of these things is that it comes with all the world countries pre-drawn. Now, you can activate these on and off through a script, but I just tend to do it manually because I find the script can be a little bit buggy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down into this pre-comp here called World Countries. Now, I'm going to do an animation between Russia and Ukraine. So as you can see, everything is set to 0 opacity. So we're just going to hit T, bring up the opacity, and then I can make this whatever colour I want. So Ukraine kind of has like a yellowish flag colour. So let's go with that. And then also Russia. So we're going to sort of keep them as red because they're the baddies. So we're going to go up. And then if I go back into the main composition and rotate it around now, you will see that the countries have highlighted up there. So that looks really nice. Now, one thing inside Geopolitics likes doing is he likes doing these sort of beautiful animations of like crests and symbols for countries. Now, Ukraine has this quite iconic sort of trident type image. So I'm going to download that here. And then I'm just going to make a little animation centered around this. So I'm going to drop this in. And then we're going to do a color key. And we're going to take out the white color. There we go. Bump up the tolerance. There we go. That leaves us with this Ukraine trident symbol. Now I'm just going to use like a Luma mat or something to reveal this. Let's just do something simple based off an expanding circle. So I'm just going to do small ellipse there. Okay, I'm just going to put the anchor point in the center. Hit scale, take scale down to 0. 0, that'll do. Mark it, and then whack the scale up like that so that it covers the full symbol. Throw roughen edges effects on it, roughen edges. Scale it up like that. Okay, now I'm just going to play with this roughen edges effect, get it looking how I want. Yeah, there we go, that's nice. Okay, and then we're just going to track mat it to that. There we go. So we've got this nice kind of reveal of the Ukrainian logo. So I'm just going to make that. Oh, and then let's get I reckon, get a nice sort of title banner on it. I always like the font Bebus, but obviously you can use whatever you want. Where's my align? Align. Increase the spacing just so it looks nice. Track mat that to the same reveal there. There, so we've got like a really lovely little animation of the Ukraine symbol coming in. So we're just going to pre-comp all that down. Cool. One thing I'd recommend doing is just go in here, doing this region of interest thing. And then composition, trim comp to region of interest. There we go. And that just means that we don't have this sort of ginormous composition sort of taking up half the screen when the actual animation is only in this tiny area in the center. So we're just going to shrink that way down. I'll put that there. So we're not going to be moving anything within this map. In this Inside Geopolitics animation, I saw it kind of centers on Ukraine, and then it has these sort of lines grow out, move over to Russia, to some sort of Russia missile launch facilities. So we're just going to create a little animation to go with that. So let's start here and do some nice sort of, there we go, lines like that. I reckon let's do like the same yellow as Ukraine. So there we go. And let's do 2 more of those. So let's do, cool. Now, I have this paid plugin called Deep Glow. If you have it, really lovely, gives these really lovely effects. I'm just going to throw those on each of them. If you don't have Deep Glow, then I'd recommend just using the standard After Effects glow effect. Now, let's do, over on the Russian side, I think we want to do this sort of symbol kind of indicating like a missile launch facility or something. So we're going to use the star tool. Here's a tip. You can change the number of points on the star by using the arrow. I think that looks good. Don't want a stroke on this one. Let's get a white fill. Now I would get something like just any image to illustrate what you want. I had this one earlier, so I'm just going to drop that in. And I'm going to steal the color key effect from the one I used earlier. Drop that on. There we go. Nice. Scale it all the way down. If you hold Control while you're scaling down, it kind of reduces the rate of change, which makes it easier to do some of these fine adjustments. Going to align the anchor to the center of that. Now, one thing Inside Geopolitics will do just to keep his animations interesting is you'll often have this constant level of motion, be it through just the parallax effect that I mentioned earlier, or just simple things like having icons rotating. So what we're going to do here is we're going to hit R to bring up the rotation on this. Now, rather than typing in 360, we're just going to do a keyframe there, go out about 15 seconds, and we're just going to hit 1. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to cause this to rotate. Now, you need to do that complete rotation by typing in 1 here, because if you do anything else, this later thing I'm going to do just now will cause it to skip. So we're just going to put a simple expression here, going to go Edit Expression, and we're going to type loop and select and loop out. There we go. Now that will cause this just to keep going indefinitely, basically. Let's align them. Align. There we go. Cool. I'm just going to pre-comp this now. Pre-compose. Satisfied. Cool. And then I've got this other plugin which is really useful, just called Auto Crop. That is what that does, is it just helps me to manually just cut it down to size. So that's something you can use if interests you. So I'm gonna put this at the end of each Ukrainian line. I think I want it underneath the glow. There we go. So let's just duplicate this twice, move it over here to each spot. Now, if I come back to the main composition, is what you'll see is that animation that we drew up inside this flat comp should be playing out on the surface of the globe. There we go. So you see our animation now is starting to take shape. Now, something we're going to do to attain that nice parallax effect that I was talking about earlier is each of these here are basically one of those comps that I was talking about. Now, they all, if I just unlock it and twirl down to the effects, they all have this VC orb effect applied. Now, the VC orb effect has a radius. Now, the radius is controlled by an expression which kind of links it all to this controller comp here. Now, what I want to do is I kind of want to go outside what the original creator of 3D Earth Connections intended. I want to open this up and I want to play with the expression. So as you can see at the end, they all have this plus 500 on it. So they're all, each layer of the globe pre-comp is tied to the same width so that they all line up. But it's what I actually want is I want a slight misalign with it. So I'm going to add about, I'm going to change this to about 520, I reckon. I'm going to click it. Oh, click outside of it, and then there we go. Ooh, right. Now, as you can see, one thing I've forgotten to do, actually not going to lie, that would make a brilliant album cover. But one thing I've forgotten to do is within the root comp, I want to turn off this earth diffuse layer. We don't actually want that visible. So we're going to come back into the main composition, and there we go. I find one thing it is nice to do is just to apply like a little bit of parallax to the country borders. We don't want it anywhere near extreme as these other assets, because obviously you don't want the country border shifting too much, but it's nice just to have that little bit of shift. So we're going to go to this globe highlights thing here, and we're going to do the same thing, VC orb, radius, edit expression, but then we're going to bump this up to maybe only 505 or just something very small like that. So we're going to close that down. Now, what it's time to do is to start animating to the globe. So we're going to go over to this controller thing here, effects, and then with this you can control the rotation and the zoom. So let's start by zooming into Ukraine. Now, let's go back into our root comp and just think about the timings of our illustration. So I'm going to turn that back on. There we go. So we've got, if I play it through, we've got the Ukraine crest appearing. It appears. Then these lines is what we want to do is we want to add a trim path to these. So we're going to go context, add trim path. So we're going to go whoop, set the end down to 0%, and then do these there. Cool. And then you want, it's nice to have a little bit of easy ease on that. And then we're just going to apply the same thing there. And then, you know what, let's stagger these slightly. So now we have this animation. There we go, perfect. Right, now is what I want next is I want these satellite bits to appear as the line contacts. So middle line, middle satellite, there we go. End line, that satellite, there we go. And then that line, that satellite, there we go. Now let's just do a little scale up animation with them. So scale. Perfect. Bit cheap and cheerful, haven't spent terribly long on those, but that's fine. So it goes whoop, and then these satellites pop up. Perfect. Okie dokie. Now, so if we go over to the main comp, so imagine as this is playing along, hold on. Need to turn off, every time I forget to do it, turn that off. There we go. So, actually, you know what? Let's fly to Ukraine as this happens. So I'm just going to keyframe those, move them out a little bit, and then we want to maybe scooch off down to the left, and then let's do a zoom out. There we go. And let's kind of get quite a nice sight. Let's go into the keyframe animator. Let's go into the graph animator here, and I want to get these quite sort of snappy, sort of in how they move in. Yeah, so scooch them to the left like that. Perfect. So we've got a nice kind of quick animation there. So here we are. So we've got a quick animation there. Zoom in. Da, da, da. And then these lines start growing out. So let's find the point at which the lines start growing. Perfect. Okay, let's keyframe these positions. And then as it grows over here, let's find the point where the first satellite appears. We want to basically now move around so that's in the center of our image. Now I think let's do an ease in and an ease out with that one. So ease in, ease out. There we go. Now, one last thing which I've noticed that Inside Geopolitics likes doing is he likes doing this kind of nice fade to like a sort of a vintage style map. So I'm just going to show you how to do that now. So what he'll do is he'll go within this Earth Diffuse comp. Now, if you watch my previous tutorial, I went over to this website called David Rumsey. So you need to go to David Rumsey and then find a nice world map image. They've got this huge repository of old map scans. You just need to be slightly mindful. I think anything printed after 1929 may still fall under copyright. So just be aware of that. You can view things on the map rank search. Is a really good way to find images. I have this one which I got earlier, I believe. Here we go. So I'm just going to take this in. Now, because this is an old vintage style map, it's never going to line up perfectly. So something you're going to have to do is you're going to have to drop the opacity down, and you're going to have to spend quite a while using these things called puppet pins. And it's what a puppet pin does, is it basically just stretches a position on the image to kind of fit wherever you want it to. So I would just line up one point that you know what it is on the map, like that, and then just take 10-15 minutes to go through and line up as many points as you can. Just going to spend a bit extra effort around this area because this is specifically where I'm going to be focusing on within the map. There we go. So that map is broadly aligned. Just going to throw the opacity back up. Going to use the same black and white effect as on the other map on it. So when in the animation are we interested in? So if so the first thing, the last satellite has appeared there. Is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the Ukraine crest, and I'm just going to use this mask that I used before. I'm just going to copy that over, take it here, and then I'm going to paste that there. Hit U to show the keyframes. There we go. Where does this start? That begins about there. So I want to center this on Crimea. There's Crimea, put it about there. There we go. Now I'm going to basically use that as a track matte, same as I did with the Ukraine crest. Perfect, there we go. So then this will expand up like that. And obviously I want the expansion to be bigger. So just whack the scale up. Oh, keep going. I think we want to maybe lower the opacity on that, and we also want to center it in a different location. So we want it first to begin a bit further in Russia over there. There we go. And let's drop the opacity down. See how that looks. So you can use this to sort of highlight some certain areas of the country in kind of a bit more of a vintage style if you want to. Right, now one last thing we're going to do. So we've done this all within the horizontal comp. If you are intending to turn it into vertical video, you've taken care to align it up within that square there, just as a sort of a template guide for yourself, as that's what's going to be visible within vertical video. So we're going to come back over to our vertical comp, where there you go, you can see everything that's going on there. Now, the reason that that isn't aligned quite with the edge is when you're making vertical video, you need to be aware that you're going to upload the video and it's going to sort of cover this full area here. But this purple band along the edge will actually be cut off on, I think, TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So just be mindful of that. So I'm going to turn those layers off, come back within here. Now, I'm just going to throw a vignette effect on this. I think Inside Geopolitics tends to have it quite strong because there's this sort of area at the top and the bottom of vertical video. It's often covered by sort of the user interface of the platform, and it's not really where you want to be focusing the eye. So I think that can be quite nice. And then I also noticed that sometimes he has kind of a dust mote type effect. So I'm just going to go over to Envato Market or Envato Elements and download a nice dust effect. Cool, there we go. And let's go over here, drop in that one. No, we don't want to do that. We want to do a multiply effect, and we want to invert it. There we go. That gives this nice, really subtle dust mote effect. Maybe take the opacity down. Cool, right. Let's see how that looks.